Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode, and today is actually the first episode of Personal Finance 101, right? So I'm teaching everyone Stock Market Basics 101, which is coming out on Thursday, every Thursday at 9 p.m. But what I'm also doing is every Saturday at 9 p.m., I'm also balancing out by teaching you guys something about personal finance as well. Now, the stock market and the personal finance go hand in hand. Okay, you can't just aim to be damn good at stock market without understanding how the personal finance industry works as well. And it's more like a discipline, it's more a habit that you need to fill up when you're doing something with relation to personal finance. Okay, so in this video, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about some important personal finance rules that you have to follow. Okay, now what these rules are, we'll come to know very soon. Hi, cool transitions, right? Awesome. I had Martin whip up all this for me. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the personal finance rules. So now I have a couple of rules, right? I have some 7 or 8 rules that I'm going to run you through by rule to make you understand what needs to be done as soon as you start your career or as soon as you're trying to start saving some kind of money in your life, right? So this is very important for all the people who've just started earning, or for all the people who've just come out of college and you're thinking of earning, okay, or start saving some kind of money. So all this is very important for these kind of people. So now let's look at the presentation now. Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm at the thank you slide. Let me go back up. Okay, so this is the top personal finance rules, okay, that you will see right now. Okay, the first rule, and which I keep telling everyone, is to make an emergency fund, right? I keep telling this to everyone: make an emergency fund, make an emergency fund. But today I'm going to tell you a little more deep depth into an emergency fund and what you need to do exactly with an emergency fund. So the first thing is that you need to make an emergency fund that is at least 3 times of your current monthly income. For example, if I'm earning 50,000 rupees right now, my emergency fund should at least be 1,50,000 rupees. Only then it's called an emergency fund. Now, where do you save this emergency fund? A lot of people kept asking me when I came out with this article and when I came out with this video saying make an emergency fund, and they were like, Shashank, where do I put this money? Okay, where do I invest this emergency fund? Now, if you're not an expert in the stock market, you can invest either in an ETF, okay, that is a nifty ETF that you can invest in, or if you still have zero knowledge of ETF as well, don't worry. There is something called as mutual funds, which you guys all know, and you can start an SIP there and start investing in a mutual fund. Or there are different small cases that you can actually go check out as well. Cool. So the main rule here is to have at least three times your emergency fund should be 3 times your monthly income. So if you're making 50,000, your emergency fund should at least be 1,50,000. Now, why is this important early on in your career to build an emergency fund? The reason why this fund is so important is because tomorrow anything can happen in life. Okay, something really wrong can go either with you or either with your family members, or something might come. Like, just look at your parents' history as well. Everything is smooth, but there's always some weird thing that they comes up and they have to spend money for that. Maybe a medical expense, maybe any kind of expense, I don't know. But something or the other always comes up. So when something really weird or something really bad or something very unexpected pops up in your life, this is when this emergency fund is going to come and save your life. Okay, so always take the advantage of creating an emergency fund right at the earliest of your life. Okay, now the advantage of this is, okay, look, I don't have to borrow money from anyone, number one. And the second thing is, if I don't have to borrow money from anyone, I don't go into that EMI trap or that debt trap. Assume I go to the bank and pick up a personal loan, I have to start paying loan interest back to them. Even if I don't go to the bank, something really wrong happens and I don't have an emergency fund, then whom do you guys go to for money? Right? You'll go back to your parents. Now, if you're earning money and then you have to go back to your parents, quite bad, right? So understand very well that you should make an emergency fund. And how much emergency fund? At least 3 times your monthly income. Okay. The second rule, okay, which I follow. The second rule is called 8% rule. Okay. Now, what is an 8% rule? Before you make any kind of investment, before you invest anywhere, you should be like, will this investment, wherever I'm investing right now, will this give me at least 8% back? Why 8%? Right? Why not 9%? I'll tell you why. 8%, okay, or 7.9% is the minimum return that the government itself is giving you when you invest in one of their schemes called the Public Provident Fund, which is PPF, which you've all heard of. PPF gives you 7.9. Worst case, PPF gives you 7.9. That means if you are investing in some kind of instrument, okay, which is giving you less than 7.9%, then it's obviously not worth it, because government of India is giving you 7.9%, which is the most safest instrument out there. Then if you go and start investing in something that's giving you 6.5% return, then who's smarter, the 7.9% guy or the 6.5% guy? Okay, and this happens, huh? A lot of people start investing in something like a fixed deposit. Fixed deposit gives you 6.5% return. You're like, dude, that's safe, because the fixed deposit is the most safest instrument. Yeah, it might be safe, but if the bank goes for a toss, then your fixed deposit might go for a toss as well. But rather, won't you start investing in a PPF, which gives you 7.9% return? Yes, okay, PPF has its own, lock-in period and stuff like that I agree. But again, the 8% rule says that if your India is giving you minimum 8% back, okay, if the government is giving you 8% back, then you as a smart investor should at least in a year, at least compound your money by 8%. If you're not compounding your money by 8%, then you're doing something wrong. Okay, so please think about that for a second. 8% rule basically talks about you should invest in instruments that give you minimum 8% returns, okay, after taxes, not before, after taxes. So that means you have to make at least 10% to get 8% return after taxes. Cool, awesome. Next rule, this is my favorite rule. Okay, this rule is called pay yourself 10% rule. Okay, what do you mean by pay yourself? Assume, chalo, you have taken a loan for yourself. Okay, Shashank has to pay loan to Shashank itself. So imagine now I'm 27, 28. Okay, assume I've taken a loan from my 60-year-old self, my tata self, my old grandfather self, right? I'm 60 years old and I've given a loan to my 27-year-old. Okay, now what my 60-year-old says, Shashank, you have taken a loan from me. I want you to pay an EMI to me every month of 10%. Whatever you make, 10% EMI, I want. Whatever happens. Whatever money you make, what is your monthly income? My 60-year-old is telling me, Shashank, you pay me 10% back. Every month you pay me. By the time you reach 60, I'll take everything from you. Now, I'll tell you why this is like this. Okay, my job is to start making you guys think something different. Okay, not always straightforward saying, ye karo, wo karo. That's something stupid that I don't always teach. I always teach you how to think little different. How to think towards long-term wealth game. How to think towards retirement. Now, assume that you have taken the biggest loan for yourself, by yourself, and you're the loan giver to yourself, okay, and you are indebted to your 60-year-old self. Okay, you have to pay loan to your own 60-year-old self, and what your 60-year-old, whatever your name is telling you that, boss, har mahina, whatever money you make every month, save 10% out of it. Okay, so assume that you are in debt to your future self. So to make this debt, you have to clear the debt off. Assume you have to clear this debt to your 60-year-old self. You have to invest at least 10% of your monthly income in long-term instruments, because you're doing it for 60 years. Okay. Now, what are long-term instruments? There are direct equity. Okay, you invest in stocks like the big large cap stocks like Reliance, TCS, etc. Or you put in mutual funds. If you don't understand, even an SIP is fine. 10% of your monthly income into mutual fund SIP is also okay. And don't worry, I'll teach you all of that in the next segments. Okay. Or you put in a PPF, which has a massive lock-in period, is also tax-free. Okay, so you can do either of these three. But again, you should invest more than 10% of your income, and you should also, the previous rule that we spoke about, right? The return should be more than 8%, at least 10%. So the 10% rule says that invest your monthly income, 10% of your monthly income in any instrument, and that instrument should again in return give you 10% back. Now imagine doing this 10% plus 10% rule, okay, 10 and 10 rule for the next 30 years. Okay, that's massive amount of money. And I'm not saying invest a fixed amount. I'm saying invest 10%. Tomorrow you get a raise, you're an amazing employee, you get a raise, or you're doing something and you get suddenly an influx of a lot of money. Imagine you get 10 lakhs tomorrow. What is 10 lakhs at 10%? 1 lakh. You have to invest 1 lakh inside right then and there. Okay, so that is the rule. So pay yourself 10%, you owe yourself 10%. Okay, now this is for all millennials. Okay, I call this the 30% credit limit rule. Trust me, I have screwed up big time on this. I did a mistake on this, literally, and I'll tell you why. The 30% credit limit rule basically says that keep your CUR. Okay, your CUR is basically called credit utilization ratio. The CUR should be 30% on any given month. Okay, that means, okay, if your credit card limit is 1 lakh, you should only spend 30% of that. First of all, I think if you're making monthly income of 1 lakh, you should buy a credit card of 30% already. Only 30%. If you ever wish to buy a credit card, it should not be more than 30% of your monthly income. I'll tell you why this is. Okay, when I started working, I had a salary of 50,000 when I was working. I got a credit card which had a limit of 1.33 lakhs at that point. Okay, 1.33 lakhs for a salary of 50,000 is a lot. Now, obviously, what will happen? I was a young guy just coming out of college, started working, and then started getting a lot of money. What happens is I start spending. And I started spending a lot. I'm like, Tera bhai ka party hai, come today. And I caught another friend and said, today I will give you a beer, come with me. Now, what happened is I kept racking up debt. Okay, I kept racking up and I didn't start paying it in time. So what happened? My interest started kicking in, which was very, very, very high. Okay, and eventually I had to borrow money from someone else, and I had to tell my dad, you know what, I think I screwed up on the credit card, please help me out. And then he had to pay my bill, which was extremely embarrassing. And I believe a lot of you might have done that as well. So now what I'm doing is, now if my monthly income is 1 lakh, my credit card is only 30%, which is only and only for emergencies. And I don't think I should have an emergency more than 30%. Right? If I want anything else, I have something else for it. If some weird medical emergency happens to me, I have a medical insurance. So that should take care of it. Right? The only reason why I would maybe want something more than 30% is to buy something fancy. Right? Again, there's a debit card which is still there with you. Right? But the credit card which you pay on credit should not be more than 30% of your income. Okay, that is as simple as that. If you try keeping it more than 30%, you might go into that EMI trap. You might go into the debt trap, which might just trap you forever. And I will come to that as well. Okay, so this is one of the rule. This is the major rule that I'm talking about, the EMI rule. Okay, just for 1 second, look at the image below. This is what I keep telling people. If you do an SIP, your money grows. If you do an EMI, okay, your money grows for the credit card company or for the banking company. So when you invest in an SIP, money makes money for you. See that guy in the red thing with an SIP tie? He's saying that the money is making more money for this guy and he's happy. Whereas if you're paying an EMI, you are stressed and you are working hard to clear that, whereas the money is making you work to clear back the money. Little complicated. I think this image is very self-explanatory, right? That is why I keep saying at an early age, never, please do not go into an EMI trap. Do not take a lot of EMI. I know for a fact I did this. There was this iPhone X that released a few years ago. I bought it and I took a 2-year EMI on it. By the time I had to pay back the EMI, which took me 2 years, that iPhone became redundant and I had to buy another phone. Eventually I just shifted to Android because it's more durable, right? But even you guys do that. You'll see something nice, you'll see a cool phone that's releasing, maybe an expensive phone, and you want to buy it. You might just go into a no cost EMI or an EMI plan, which might have a big impact in your life. Okay, so the 20% EMI rule basically says that all your EMIs combined, kitna bhi EMIs you have, everything combined should not be more than 20 to max 30% of your take home income. Take home means jo paisa you're getting in your hand, cash in hand, not your CTC, which is glorified with 100 nonsense things, right? I'm talking about cash in hand. If you have 20 to 30% of your take home income as your EMI, it is considered okay. Again, I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, I think you should not have an EMI in the first place. Just do an SIP, because see, out of 100%, if 20 to 30% is EMI, okay, then how much मैं कितना save करेगा? Another 10% if I save, 40% has gone here only. Remaining 60% for my normal kharcha, which might be a little difficult unless you're making a lot of money. Okay, if you're making 2-3 lakhs in a month, you can get 20% EMI rule. No problem. Easy. Okay, because the savings is good enough on a percentage basis. But that is why I said, when you're young, do not get into the EMI trap. Okay, I'll give you an example here. If your take home salary is 50,000, your combined EMI per month should be 10 to 15,000. That's it. Anything more will make you strain your finances, lower your savings, and then the risk of defaulting on your EMIs. And I'll tell you why. Assume you're making 50,000 rupees, you're paying like 10 grand, 15 grand as your EMI. What if you just lose your job one day? Okay, or on your notice period. Now, EMI is not going for 1 year. EMI is not going for 24 months, 12 months, 9 months, whatever EMI you've taken, that's not going. But your job can go in 9 months, 12 months, 24 months. So that is why I'm saying never overestimate yourself and say, you know what, mera to job jayega hi nahi, they need me, they can't kick me out. Never think about that way, because you will plan something and take something which is very expensive, assuming that you have a job for 2 years. And if that job goes away, then you have to sit and pay those EMI bills irrespective whether you have a job or not. Because bank will not be like, "Arey yaar, poor guy, job chala gaya, chal nahi lete aaj EMI." Doesn't work that way. Okay, so please understand that 20% EMI rule basically says is that your entire EMI should not be more than 20%. Okay. Now, this is for all home buyers. Now, this is not for someone who's very early in his life. This is someone little later in his life, 28, 32, 33 age group pe. Okay. Now, there's a very big misconception when you buy a house. Okay, everyone says, you buy a house and you pay EMI and you take money on EMI and EMI pe house ban jata hai, right? This is the assumption that a lot of people have. Now, do you know that the banks only give you 80% of the whole loan amount? They don't give you 100%. So I'll give you an example. If there is a house you want to buy for 1 crore, okay, the bank will only give you 80 lakhs ka loan. 80 lakhs ka loan gets sanctioned. Remaining 20%, okay, remaining 20 lakhs you have to pay upfront. From your savings, you have to pay upfront. After paying 20% upfront, remaining 80% pay, you have to sit and pay EMI for maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, God knows how many years, okay? Where did that go? Sorry. So that is the thing, right? You have to pay so much money upfront, number one. But again, don't think it's only 20%. You know why? Because there is something little more which comes down called stamp duty cost, registration cost. Maybe you have to paint that place, right? Because if you buy a house and you want to give it for rent, you have to start painting the area as well. On basic stuff you have to do. Maybe furnishing that place, because some people want semi-furnished houses, right? So don't assume that if I have to buy a house for 1 crore, then 20% I'll pay upfront 20 lakhs, remaining 80 lakhs I'll take EMI and my house is done. No. Another 10 lakhs might go in just painting, furnishing, putting some color coating, etc., putting some furnishing, jata hai. So whenever you're trying to buy a house, always assume that you have to pay at least 30% or 40% of the property cost directly from your pocket. If a house is 1 crore, don't say 80% loan, 20% I have to pay, okay? Assume that if a house is 1 crore, mera kharcha hoga minimum 30 lakhs. Only then, if you can afford that, only then buy a house, okay? Biggest rule. Now, something again similar in the housing space. There's something called rental yield. I'll tell you what it is. Okay. What it says is the 3% rental yield rule. Whenever you buy a house, okay, it should at least on an annual basis, minimum I'm talking about, this is not maximum, this is minimum, it should pay you at least 3% of the entire property cost. For example, if you have a property that costs 50 lakhs rupees, your annual rent, not monthly, your annual rent should be at least 1.5 lakhs. Which is fine, right? You should be okay with that. This is loosely applied thumb rule. There is no actual hard and fast rule it should be 3%, but I'm saying it is just good if it is minimum around 3%. Anything more than 3%, you should be very happy. Okay? Anything less than 3%, you should be like, kya fayda iska? 1% mila to there's no point at all, right? But again, this is just a loosely applied rule. Now, how do you calculate this rental yield, right? Basically, you take the annual rental income. Okay, if your rental income is 1 lakh or 2 lakhs, take the annual income rent. Why does it keep constantly changing? Sorry. Take the annual rental income and then divide it by the value of the property and then multiply it by 100, which is your percentage formula. So take the whole income and divide it by the value of the property. This is what annual rental yield talks about. So minimum 3% hona chahiye. Okay. Now, this comes to, again, all the people who are in your 30ish, okay, 30s or even married. Okay, this is only for people who have someone depending on them. Okay, depending on them means if you are the sole breadwinner of the family. Okay, agar something happens to you, your family will suffer a lot. If you are in that category, then the 20x life cover rule is extremely important for you guys. Now, the reason why this is because if something happens to me tomorrow and if I pass away or something wrong happens, my family should be secured at this point. Okay, if my family is not secure, then it's going to be a really, really impactful time for me. So the major thing here is there's a rule for that also. It's called the 20x rule. Okay, 20x rule says if you're in your 30s, the sum assured, if something really wrong happens to you, the sum assured should be at least 20 times your current annual income. Okay, this is for all the people who are currently in your 30s, okay, who have someone depending on them. Now, by someone I mean, say for example, you're a sole guy. Okay, imagine you're someone who's a breadwinner for your family. Breadwinner means agar you're the person who's working hard and then something happens to you, kuch bhi ho sakta hai life mein. Agar kuch ho gaya and something really wrong happens to you and maybe something, you pass away or something like that, your parents and the people, your parents, your family, your children, anyone who is dependent on you should be safe even after you go. Now, a lot of people ask me this question saying, kitna life insurance cover hona chahiye? How much is enough? I don't know how much is enough, right? Now, uske liye bhi there is a rule. The rule is called the 20x life cover rule. Now, what does the 20x life cover rule say? It says that if you're buying an insurance, there is something called sum assured in your insurance. Sum assured matlab kuch bhi ho gaya kal, this is the sum that is 100% assured will be given to your family. Okay, that is the important metric. Now, your sum assured, okay, sum assured metric should be at least 20% or not 20%, 20 times your current annual income. So, I'll give you an example. Okay, assume I'm making 1 lakh a year. Okay, 1 lakh a year into 12 is 12 lakhs. Now, my annual income, okay, if it's 12 lakhs, okay, my life insurance cover should be 20 times 12 lakhs. Okay, 20 times 12 lakhs is how much? Approximately 2.4 crores. So I need to get at least a 2.5 crore cover. Okay, so that everyone in my family is safe if something wrong happens to me. Now it might seem too much, right? 2.5 crore sum assured must be so expensive. So I don't know how I can do this. It's actually not it's not true at all. If you're young, okay, and if you're in your 30s and you're very young, your premiums are very less. Okay, and if you're making 1 lakh, give 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 you can give in these premiums. And also there are some tax benefits when you do life insurance cover as well. And if you pay this very early on in your life, these premiums, your sum assured keeps becoming more, and the sum assured will be definitely 20 times your current income. So don't worry about that. But again, that is the rule for life insurance. 20 times of your current annual income should be what is left behind if something really wrong happens to you. Now, lastly, my most important and my favorite rule. Okay, this rule is called the 50-30-20 rule. Okay, and I made a separate video on the YouTube channel. You can go check it out. But this is a rule that I love. Now, I'll tell you why I love this rule. Because it's so simple. It's explained so easily. What it says is 50% of your monthly income. Okay, 50% of your monthly income should go to essentials, which is your needs. Okay, your need. I need this. I need to pay rent. I need to pay electricity. I need to do this. I need to do that. Your needs will take up 50%, should take up 50% of your monthly income. So if you make 1 lakh, 50,000 should be for this rent and groceries and fixed expense that you spend in the month. Okay, now remaining 30%, okay, is something called wants. I want this new shopping karna hai mere ko. I want this new t-shirt. I want that new top. I want to buy some makeup. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. That should be the remaining 30% for you to enjoy life. I want to go for dinner should come in the 30%. Now the last 20%, whatever happens, the last 20% should go back into your savings. Okay, people who do not earn too much cannot follow the 50-30-20 rule. They usually follow the 50-40-10 rule, where only 10% of their money goes into savings. That is also not bad. Okay, if you're saying I can only invest 10% right now, it's fine. At least invest at 10%, because eventually what's going to happen is you will get an increment. You will obviously go up in life and you'll get more money. That time immediately change it to 20% rule. Okay, or else you'll have a big problem. So always keep 10 to 20% as your savings. Now remember, whom are you keeping the savings for? This 10-20%, who are you keeping? To your 60-year-old self that we discussed in the second rule. Okay, that you have to keep it for yourself. You're paying a debt to yourself for your past self. Okay, now this is a very simple rule. I have explained this rule in superb detail in another video. Okay, but basically what it says is 50% of your income should go into your wants, needs, 30% should go into your wants, and the last 20% should go into your savings. Okay, now hope this helped. Okay, let me come back to the main screen. Now just think a little more. Okay, before we finish this video, just think a bit. Now, what I've explained is these are some basic thumb rules, okay, basic simple rules that you should incorporate in your life. Every time you think, okay, I need to get a life insurance, this is some rule that you have to do. Every time you feel, okay, you know what, I'm going to buy a house, this is something that you can think about. Every time you're buying a house for rental yield, this is something you can think about. So these are some basic rules for you to understand. Simple stuff, ज़्यादा सोचने का नहीं. These are some basic simple rules that you need to follow from a personal finance perspective so that you have a beautiful disciplined life. Okay. Now my main, again, I keep saying this, my main goal is to help you guys understand two things. Okay. One, understand yourself and your money. Okay, because it is your money at the end of the day. So I'm here to help you understand how personal finance would work, how to get this discipline. So once you have this discipline and once you say, Shashank, I have done this discipline, 50-30-20 rule I have cracked. Now I have 20% savings. Tell me what to do, Shashank. And that is where I come in and I start teaching you about the stock market and how to invest that 20% so that in the future it becomes 200% by the time you retire, or much more than 200%. Okay, so that is why I am here. Cool. So again, hope you like this video. I know it was slightly long. I don't know how many minutes, but I hope you like this video. And if you liked it, just like it below and I will be very happy. Okay. Now the next video will come out again on Thursday. So you should watch that as well. That's going to be on the stock market. And if you have any personal finance recommendations, like a lot of people told me make a video on credit cards and stuff like that, put it in the comments below and I'm just here for you. I'm going to do everything I can to make finance as simple as possible for you guys. Okay. Hope this helped. See you guys. And I'm going to do some nice outro. See you.